We're in a weird time where there's not really any gaming handhelds anymore. Okay, well, not any that you could just throw in your bag and forget about. It was just a few months ago that I talked about the BITTBOY PocketGo, an iteration of the BitBoy that can play Game Boy Advanced games. It became my favorite everyday carry gaming device. And by that, I mean it kind of just sat in my bag and I forgot about it because it's so tiny. I love the BitBoy line. They have their flaws, but they serve their purpose. They're super cheap, super convenient, super powerful little portable emulators. Now they've already made a new one. I guess this is just the BitBoy channel now. The new PocketGo is bigger, more powerful, and plays most games up to and including original PlayStation. And it plays them damn well. It fixes the biggest problems that I had with the original line. It's not exactly perfect, but we're definitely getting there. This video is sponsored by ExpressVPN, but we'll hear more about them later. So if you're still confused about what this thing is, it's a portable emulation device. It plays all different types of games. In fact, it plays Game Boy, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, NES, SNES, Master System, Genesis, PlayStation 1, Wonder Swan, Neo Geo, Neo Geo Pocket, Arcade MAME, and DOS games. I feel like I probably left something out, but if I did, it's honestly not that important. You know out of these which the important ones are. The old PocketGo had a 533 megahertz processor. This one has a 1 gigahertz processor. The old one had 32 megabits of RAM. This one has 512 of DDR2, which is a significant improvement. The old one has a 1000 milliamp hour battery. This one has a 2000 milliamp hour battery, but it'll need that for all the power it'll be drawing. The old one uses a micro USB port for charging. This one uses USB-C. I even charged it using a Nintendo Switch charger. I don't know if that's safe to do, but I did it anyway, and everything seemed to be fine. No, it's not fine. It turns out the Nintendo Switch charger never actually charged the thing. So this whole time, I've just been using this from the charge it got right out of the box. So whatever I say about the battery, irrelevant, because it should be longer than that. My MacBook charger also didn't charge it at all. The only thing that I could get to actually charge it was the USB cable that it came included with, and just a random USB power brick that I have. So don't expect to just use any old charger, and also that's why it's daytime out now, because I couldn't figure out how to charge it. The screen went from 2.4 inches to 3.5, so over an inch bigger. It's a beautiful IPS display, one of the best looking displays I've ever seen in a gaming device, if I'm being completely honest. If you remember what I said about the original PocketGo, I loved it a lot. It played most games very well, except for PlayStation 1 games. Those were a little wonky, and it didn't have L2 or R2 shoulder buttons, so you just straight up couldn't play some PlayStation games. But the biggest flaw was the screen tearing. The screen's refresh rate looked like it couldn't keep up with some fast motion. I don't think it was actually a problem with the screen, but more of a hardware problem. But anyway, basically any emulator on the device would have these screen tearing glitches, even Game Boy. This happened on both the original BitBoy and the PocketGo, so I was disappointed that when the PocketGo came out, they didn't fix that issue. You can kind of just ignore the screen tearing while you're playing it, but if this was a problem that happened in a mainstream gaming device, it would be completely unacceptable. They claim to have fixed this issue in a firmware update, but updating the firmware is not an easy process, and I kind of don't believe them. But I'm happy to report that the new PocketGo completely eliminates this issue. I haven't been able to notice any screen tearing at all. There were times in my testing where I was really trying to push it to its limits, and I thought I maybe saw some screen tearing, but A, I'm trying to seek it out, and B, it was most likely just planned slowdown from the games I'm playing. These games are not meant to be played on a screen that looks this good. They're meant to be played on CRTs. But I like the crisp pixel look, so I'm really digging this. This thing is a beast. Every game that I tested runs great and looks gorgeous on this IPS display. The only thing I've seen look better than this is the original hardware upscaled with a FrameMeister or OSSC. but this is cheaper and portable. I'm also happy to report that PlayStation 1 games run very well, which is great because those are very hard to emulate. The device only has one analog stick in the form of this circle pad, and it's not a very good analog stick at all. It gets stuck a lot. You should probably just pretend like this circle pad doesn't exist because it'll ruin your game. Most PS1 games don't use the analog stick anyway, so you can get away with just the D-pad. The audio is all right.
I've got to make sure. Daredevil!
That leaves one question. Where's Rhino?
It gets loud, but the quality is, well, just about what you'd expect from a small speaker. Also, the volume curve is weird. One notch above muted is still pretty loud. The system runs on Linux. The UI is subpar, but the games run great, so I can't really complain. But I can complain about the fact that the B button doesn't take you back. Start does. What kind of bullshit ass, stupid ass, dumb ass. On the bottom, it has not one, but 2 microSD card slots, which is pretty cool, but also not. The file system just kind of mixes the 2 microSD cards together. The second microSD card slot is for you to plug in your own microSD card if you want to load in your own ROMs. The microSD card that it comes with is already split into 2 partitions, one of them containing the operating system and one of them containing the emulators and ROMs. And you would think that the emulator and ROM partition would be the one that is formatted for most computers, but you'd be wrong. It's Linux formatted. And that's why the other microSD card slot exists, because you can't just take this microSD card out and pop it into your computer and load it up with ROMs, because it's freaking Linux formatted for some stupid reason. The file explorer on this device that most of the emulators use just kind of smashes the 2 microSD cards together and puts all the folders in one big list. If you are going to use your own microSD card, make sure that it is FAT formatted. What I did instead was I just took the microSD card that it has already, popped it into my computer, and got this random Linux disk reader for my Mac. And that worked just fine. I did that to move my Mega Man Zero save over from my original PocketGo, which was easy enough once I figured out where the emulators actually had their save files pulled from. I was kind of afraid to mention this in my other BitTBoy reviews because I didn't know if I was just getting special treatment because I'm a reviewer, but now I know that I'm not. These things just straight up come with a bunch of games already on them. I don't want to say exactly which games this thing came with because I don't want to be implicated in a crime, but basically everything you see in this video came on here already, except for Sonic Advance 1 and 2. Those are the only games that I put on here myself. Everything else you see probably definitely came on here already, including this Whitney Houston music video. That's a new Whitney Houston song to me. Thank you for including that. Oh, it's that song. I never got to that part. It's like you can't even hear it. Every emulator on here handles scaling a little bit differently. The screen is 320 by 240 pixels, which is probably the happiest medium you can get between all of these different emulators. It's also the original resolution of YouTube videos, which I just learned. So there you go. There's a little interesting fact for you, a little tidbit. You learn a little something here, you know? Anyway, you might notice a very slight crop in certain emulators. I basically had to tweak the scaling options for around half of the emulators. The Game Boy emulator defaults to 1.66666 scaling, which technically should look great, but I found the option scale 3 times plus sample 0.75 to be a little sharper. That sounds like way more math than I want to do right now. The Game Boy Color emulator looked the best at 1.66 times fast. Game Boy Advance had no scaling options that I could see, which is unfortunate. We're just stuck with this cropped window. Honestly, every other emulator looked just fine as is. PlayStation took no graphical adjustments at all. I just opened it up and started Crash Bandicoot right away and had no problem. Every emulator already has its own settings that you can play around with. The controls are already configured for all of the emulators right out of the box. But some emulators have a fast forward button, which is awesome. Genesis has it, and it's awesome. Game Boy and Game Boy Color do not, which is a huge bummer because I really wanted to use this with Pokemon. Luckily, with some tweaking, Game Boy Advance does have a fast forward button. You just have to set it yourself. By default, the Y and X buttons act as turbo buttons, so just switch one of these to fast forward. You'll be tearing ass through Pokemon like this idiot does in no time. For a tiny little device like this, it plays some very powerful games and has a beautiful, bright IPS display. So you'd think that the battery life would take a substantial hit. I charged the original PocketGo once ever, and 6 or 7 months later, it still has a charge. Granted, I barely played it. It just kind of sat in my bag, and every month or so, I would turn it on just to make sure it was still alive. But it's great to have something like that you could just throw in your bag that you know can hold a charge for a long period of time when it's not in use. I can't really comment on the battery life of this new one yet, but I can say that when I first got it, I charged it up all the way, played it for a little bit, and it almost immediately fell down to the orange. But it's been there for a long while. Now it has a pixel of battery left. To be honest, I don't trust this battery gauge at all. It seems like the curve is all weird. Of all of the games at my disposal here, I've been playing Mega Man Zero the most. Just this one boss over and over again. But I finally got him. Mega Man Zero is coming to the Switch very soon. And honestly, as much as I've been hyped for it, I might just end up playing it on here. And before you say anything, I already own the cartridge, so not stealing. All the other games on this console, though, this is the perfect form factor for me. And it's great to just have this thing in my jacket pocket or in my bag so I can just bust it out for a quick round on the train or something. The next best thing would be to just have an IPS modded original Game Boy Advance, but that's not gonna have your save states, that's not gonna have a fast forward button, and that's not gonna have freaking Genesis games, Super Nintendo games, PlayStation 1 games. Also, it's very expensive to get that mod. I really love this thing. I loved the old one, but this is a significant improvement. It's a little bigger, but it's still thin enough to not be obtrusive, and the size makes it a little more comfortable. The performance upgrade also gives it some breathing room when emulating these more hardware-intensive games. I felt way more comfortable suggesting the old PocketGo to people because it was only $40. This one seems to be going for about $65 or $70, which is a significant investment for somebody who's just looking for a backup portable gaming device that they can throw in their bag and forget about. But if you want to emulate anything past PlayStation 1 portably, this might be my favorite option now. If you want to go beyond PlayStation 1, you should get yourself a GPD XD. You'll be paying a pretty penny for it though. And everybody likes to mention modded PSPs and modded DS Lites. I've only ever modded DS Lite, and that runs great. And modded PSPs can run PlayStation 1 games too, I'm pretty sure. Listen, if you have a PSP already and you feel like modding it, go nuts. This thing's around the same price as a PSP, so. I'll also note that this new PocketGo is only available at retromini.com, and I have an affiliate link for that website in the description below if you want to get your own, but I will warn you that it's coming from China, and I've heard from other people who have ordered from this website that there might be some customs issues, like, for example, you might just not get it. I would imagine I had to go through the same customs issues to receive my review unit because it also came from the same company and it came through China into customs. I usually just link the listing for Amazon when that comes up because people are more comfortable using that website, and I'd be more comfortable if you use that website too, but not available on there right now. I just don't want it to come off like I'm endorsing this website. This is definitely a buy at your own risk situation. You're buying a portable emulator that has ROMs on it already. I'm calling the cops. Listen, if you want to do some shady stuff on the internet, that's on you. No one needs to know. But if you're gonna do that, you should check out ExpressVPN. Ain't that right, Bob, from 3 days ago? Oh, so I do this new thing now where I leave the house. See, I work a lot from home, and I need to get out more. So now I go to coffee shops and I work out of there. It's great because I don't want to be there, so I get my work done quicker. I also like coffee way more now, which could be a problem. But while you're working there on that public Wi-Fi, you want to make sure you're safe and secure because you're doing important business stuff. Listen, man, you never know who's trying to get into your stuff while you're just taking a sip of your bean juice. That's why you need something like ExpressVPN. If you're paranoid of the employees at Starbucks trying to get into your personal matters, like my crazy uncle is, then this will add an extra layer of security. It'll also give you some peace of mind on an unencrypted site. Or even better, maybe the content you're trying to watch is restricted by the country you're in. Do you want to watch something that's on the Japanese Netflix but not on the American one? Use ExpressVPN to do that. Or in some cases, you can use it on a network to get to blocked sites like I did on my flight to watch YouTube videos, which were blocked. And it worked. So if you got some ideas of how ExpressVPN can help you out, you can get 3 months completely free if you go to expressvpn.com/wolfden, that's spelled like how we spell it, or just click the link in the description, you big dummy. And hey, thanks ExpressVPN for watching my back when I'm out and about, and for helping support this channel. I don't have a problem. So what do you guys think about this new PocketGo and portable emulation in general? Is this something that you'd be interested in? What are some of the games that you'd like to see played on a device like this so I'll know in the future, see if it runs good? And what do you think of the price point? Is it still a good price for something that plays all of these different types of games? I think it's pretty fair, but it might be a slightly harder sell for the more casual audience. The old one was freaking $40. It's like 2 Starbucks coffees. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comments down below, or add me on Twitter, or any and all of this other social media garbage. Of course, we got new videos here all the time. A schedule's in a pinned tweet over on Twitter, and we got Wulff Den Live every single Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time here on YouTube, where we talk and hang out with each other. It's a live podcast. Why did my voice do that? I'm also on twitch.tv/wolfden sometimes. You should click the notification for that, because then you'll know when I'm live. But of course, the most important and easiest things that you can do to help us out here is just subscribe. That's the easiest and best way you can do it. And share this video with a friend who maybe has a portable emulation device, maybe you think wants to get one, maybe he just likes to play retro games. Thank you guys very much. You have yourself a very good week. I love all your stupid, dumb faces.